This is Jeffrey. But Jeffrey is the master of cooking chicken. So I wanted to see how he does this, because he really is amazing. It's always tender and yummy, juicy. Tell him what you're doing.
I am trimming the fat off the chicken bush, or as Tracy likes to call it, cutting back the leaves. Doing my gardening for the week. We buy chicken breasts, 3 to a pack, because it normally runs for about 3 or 4 days, depending upon how many and how much chicken is in it. We cut back and try to get rid of all the fat and remove most of the ligament. And those that don't come through, we do end up getting them pretty soft in the cooking process. And believe it or not, the majority of everything here is all based off of what you use to prep before you cook. And the best thing is this true lemon. This lemon actually helps tenderize the meat without beating it, throwing it up against the wall, jumping up and down on it, or anything else. Just lightly coat it. And as the meat absorbs the true lemon crystals, it actually helps tenderize the meat.
And that's what true lemon is crystallized lemon. A boat captain told me about that because he has problems with kidney stones, and I do. So this comes in a bottle like that for cooking, and it also comes in little packets.
And Tracy uses the little packets to season her veggies that she's cooking.
This is the little packet, and one packet is like a wedge of lemon. So you can put it in your water, on chicken, on vegetables. It's wonderful.
Now before all you guys say, you need to put them in onions, you need to put this powder on it, you need to put salt on it, you need to do all these other things to it. We have an issue with this house.
Onion!
We're restricted to what we can and cannot cook with. Tracy has a severe allergy to all things onion. Not necessarily the whole onion family, but anything that specifically is onion. She loves garlic, she can eat that, no problem. She cannot eat onion salt, onion powder, anything that has to come from actual onions.
Yeah, so like most chefs that throw an onion in the pot and then get started, that would be death for me. And Jeffrey loves onions, so of course he can have it and it doesn't bother me if he has it, but he's so sweet to do the chicken where I can eat it.
And I never ever ever like cooking for one, except for Tracy. So when I cook, I always cook for 5 or more people.
And he's wearing gloves. We got a box of gloves so he doesn't get the chicken goo all over. And of course with your cutting board, make sure that you only use one side for chicken and use the other sides for vegetables or other things. Because you don't want raw chicken, even when you clean it. Just have one thing designated for
chicken. One thing for beef. Pork chops, do that also, because you don't want to cross-contaminate food types.
Okay, now that you put salt. No, you didn't put salt. You put lemon and pepper. That's it.
That's it. Lemon and pepper. Lemon helps tenderize it. Normally, I let it sit for up to 1 to 24 hours wrapped in a bag inside the refrigerator. But because I'm just going to go straight to cooking it, I'll cook it at my normal temperature. I'll just flip it more often than not.
And you'll see he has one hand he uses for the raw chicken and the other hand is clean that he used for like putting things up, and that's the olive oil he's going for now.
Wait for the stove to get up, set it to...
That's a trick I learned from Gordon Ramsay, is that you have to heat your pan first before you add any kind of oil. Like that's the trick so that you don't have anything stick to your pan. Heat up your pan, then add your oil, give it just a minute to come up to temp, and then add your stuff.
And based on the type of oil you're cooking with, you need to know how much or how soon you can add the oil. Olive oil breaks down the fastest out of all the oils that you can cook with. So you always put it in there before you put your products in the pan. Vegetable oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, they heat up just as fast, but they don't break down as fast. So you can put them in at any point once you start heating up your pan.
I like olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. Oh, that's good. Like when the glove melts, the pan's hot.
Then you know it's ready. Once you put your oil in and it gets hot, you want to wait probably no more than 1-2 minutes for it to get the oil up to temp, and then you can put in your chicken.
Nice.
And all the chopping noises you hear, if you hear them, are Tracy cutting up her veggies.
Now I'm the veggie meister. Cauliflower, broccoli, and zucchini. Yum.
Now you can tell if the oil's hot just by the way the chicken is sizzling as you put it in. And you want to put it in and move it around to make sure it doesn't stick automatically to the pan, because you are inserting it into the oil. And no matter how many times you try it, it will always stick some way.
Oh, it does?
Yep. The first turn, once you get the sear in it, it will stick a little bit. So once you got that on, temperature's up to medium. Now I take my gloves off because they're not necessary. And you leave it sit this way until the chicken on the top turns white. And that's when you can tell it's time to turn it for the first time. Master of one at a time, so I know how to cook or talk, not both.
Here he is.
Yum, chicken.
And normally it's about 5 minutes for it to get to the right temperature and for the meat to turn white on the top side, because the lid is keeping all the moisture and heat in. Almost getting time to flip. And it's time to flip. So be careful of the steam because it's going to cover up the camera. Although you guys can't smell it, you can smell a strong lemony smell. You'll notice light brown or tanning on the chicken. So we cover it back up. And now we start timing it, letting it cook about every 3 to 5 minutes and flipping it each time. Okay, as you guys can see, there's a little bit of tinge coming through with the meat. You can see it's turning brown on the top side as well. So we'll flip it again, and there's the steam. As you can just see, as I flipped them, it did stick a little bit. So we'll adjust it some. But you'll also notice the tan on this side too. And when this one gets ready in about 4 minutes, it will continue to brown a little bit, as you can see. But each time we turn it, it'll tan a little bit more, sear a little bit more, and it'll be good to go. In about 12 minutes, it'll be done. You have to be careful because sometimes this handle gets hot from the steam seeping out under the lid, and the steam just coats the handle and it makes that hot. First time that happened, it surprised the poop out of me. And one thing you'll notice as you cook the chicken, you'll notice that there's less and less oil in the pan because it is cooking away, which gives it its flavor and some of the sear on it. But as the oil breaks down and dissipates into water and the rest of the oil from the olive, it will get less and less, and as you flip the chicken into it, that flavor will partially stick to the chicken to give it an additional olive oil flavor for the chicken to receive. As you can see here, it's bubbling, but it's not as thin as it was when it was first poured. It's thickening up. And although you can't see it, there is a dog over here on the floor looking at me hungrily, wondering when I'm going to give her a piece of this chicken, which she won't get when we're eating, but she may get a piece or two while we're cutting it up and getting ready to serve. That way she doesn't think she can beg at the table and get something. Another time to turn. Let's see how it is on the other side. There we go. You can see it searing on that side, or browning. And that browning is coming from the oil. And as you push on the chicken, you can tell how stiff it is, and that helps you know how done the chicken meat is. That's the best way to tell when meat is done, other than a temperature sensor, thermometer, probe, whatever you want to call it. When you push on your meat, whether it's chicken or steak, you can tell how done it is by how stiff the meat gets. The stiffer the meat, the more done it is. That's how you tell when you want rare, medium, or well done when you're cooking a steak. So we'll give it 3.5, 4 minutes, and then it should almost be done. We'll check it and see if it's done. Now, if I'm unsure about it being completely done, I will leave it in the pan and put it off to the side so it will continue to absorb the heat from the pan as the pan cools on the outside, and it will still finish cooking the chicken without burning it. I think you can see through the lid that the browning of the chicken is continuing to happen. Certain areas will be a little bit darker brown than the other parts, but those are the parts that are actually sitting on the pan and in the oil, and that's giving it a little bit darker hue as the oil continues to boil away and thicken up at the bottom of the pan.
Smells good in here.
Well, you got a couple more minutes before it's done. I'm going to put it off to the side, leave it in the pan, and let it to finish. I don't know if it's going to finish cooking or just help it to rest and absorb back its flavorful juices. But you got about 2 minutes before I'm done.
So we want juicy and flavorful.
Okay, we're going to check one more time to see how done the chicken is. It's nice and stiff. That shows you that that's really well done. The inside of the chicken is cooked. All 3 of those are done. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this off the heat, turn the stove off, and turn it over to the mistress of one. Show you how she cooks her veggies. Turn the eye off.
No, I need it. Okay, veggie time. So I have these. This is cauliflower and broccoli, and I cut it all up in a bowl, and then I cut the zucchini made to order because it doesn't do well if you cut it up beforehand. So I have no idea if this is the right way to cut zucchini. It's the way I cut it, and I like it that way. So I just make the little cuts on top and lay it over and then cut them.
Gordon Ramsay, don't give her a hard time.
Yeah, I don't have knife skills, so oops. Fingernails are free.
She's talking and she already cut herself.
I didn't cut myself, I cut my fingernail. I just
don't worry, they soften in the oil.
Yeah. I like little pieces. I know some people like them big. I don't. I like them little. And I have done so many different types of cooking vegetables that this is like the formula that works for me. I have the stove on almost medium, not quite to medium, and this is the best pan ever. Do you remember what it's called?
Turn it over.
It's a Gotham steel pan. I use it every day.
This is not product placement.
No, nobody paid me a thing. And this is like the magic lid, and this is for a steamer pot. See, it's got the holes on both sides.
It was a gift for our wedding, isn't it?
Well, the pot, yeah, the pot was, but this is not a set. But when you put it on the pan, see the steamer holes are up. So I don't know if that's good or what it is, but it works.
It lets it vent for you.
So you just wait until the pan gets nice and hot.
She doesn't use plastic gloves, so she burns her hand checking it every time.
No, I don't. Oh, and our little Tanner loves these little zucchinis. Always check and see if dogs can have whatever you're cooking. And for her, she can have vegetables. She can have baked chicken, stovetop, I guess is what we call it. But you don't want to give your dog a lot of different stuff because their tummy is just like the same thing over and over again. And we only give her things when we're cooking, and that way she doesn't beg when we're at the table. She knows that she doesn't get anything. Okay, so that's getting nice and hot. I think this is about a tablespoon and a half of oil. I use extra virgin olive oil. And again, if you didn't catch it on the chicken, heat your pan up first, then put your oil in. And it won't take long for the oil to get hot. You can test it just by listening for the simmer. There's the simmer. Use the back of your knife when you're pushing things so you don't mess up your blade. So I put those in, and then I have my pot of broccoli and cauliflower, so I add that. And then I really like riced cauliflower as well, so I sprinkle some of that in. And the only thing I add is a little pepper. I stir this just so the olive oil can kind of coat the veggies. I am not a professional chef by any means, so I have no idea if this is right or not. It's just the way I like it. Okay, so when you do that, I cover it for 6 minutes. So I'm gonna set the timer 6 minutes. And we leave it alone. Okay, that's the timer. So we open the lid, open it sideways so the steam goes out and the water drips back into your pot, your pan. And I stir it. Oh, this looks good. And then it goes back on for a minute and a half. All right, minute and a half is up. Veggies are done. Remember to always tip your lid so that the water goes back into the pan. And then one final little stir, and they are ready to eat. And I put lemon on them.
You gotta pull the chicken out, and you'll notice the oil is all inside here. I'm gonna pull one piece off.
Oh, that looks good.
Put the lid back on, that'll keep the moisture in the pan so the chicken stays moist. Just sharpen the knife so I know the blade's nice and sharp and it cuts right through it. There you go.
Oh,
To keep your knife sharp as much as possible, do not run it up against your cutting implement that you're using to hold your food. So don't run it up against your fork. If you're using a fork to hold it, just let it run and let the blade do the work for you.
I wish you could smell this. It smells so good.
Notice it is just tearing as it goes through it because that's how tender the meat is right now.
Herring.
I don't have to cut all of it because
Oh.
this is where it's seared, so there's still the flavor of the oil in it. But the meat is just basically, I'm not cutting that much or putting pressure on it. It's just helping the meat fall apart.
We're going to move that over so the plate can come in here. There's my lovely vegetables. I'm going to use one of the true lemons that I showed you earlier and just sprinkle that on the veggies. Ooh, I wish you could smell this.
Again, using the back side of the blade. She wants to throw some to Tanner, she can.
And that is dinner. Yum! Oh, and you didn't see my nut bowl. Just my little nut bowl. And that's got cashews and pistachio nuts in it. So that's a healthy dinner. That's my awesome husband.
Now this is her dog. You ready? Perfect catch.
You can see the cooler back there. That's from a trip that we haven't put the cooler back from. You want to give her one more?
Ready? You ready?
She's so good.
Thank you, darling.
You're welcome. Enjoy your dinner.